Welcome back. It's time to open up tonight's unsolved case file. We do it every night on this program. These are stories and cases that some are several weeks that have gone by without a case being solved. Some are months, some are years, some are even decades. All of them are important. All of them can be solved, but all of them need a little bit of help. If you have any information, please pick up the phone tonight and make the call. Tonight's story comes to us from Moab, Utah. Lauren Steinbrecher, a great reporter with our affiliate KSTU, has the story of Kylen Schulte and Crystal Turner.
With positive vibes and nothing but joy in her smile, to Bridget Calvert, her niece Kylen Schulte was a ray of light.
Her having such a beautiful soul, to see it complemented with someone like Crystal, that they could really enjoy life and do it together.
Kylen and her wife, Crystal Turner, got married 4 months ago, loved living van life, and called the outdoors around Moab home. Many people knew the couple around town, which is why when the two were no-call, no-shows to work, it was clear something was wrong. The family, all out of state, say police searched, but it wasn't until an acquaintance drove out to the South Mesa area in the LaSalle Mountains that they discovered the horrifying news.
She was on the phone with my brother when she pulled up to the car. She looks at the site and sees a body and tells my brother that he sent a text that said it's Kylen and Crystal.
The Grand County Sheriff's Office confirmed the two women were shot and killed, they believe, by someone else.
The evidence that we've gathered at this time, that's what it's led us to believe was an isolated incident.
That's all they can say for now. Bridget explained how friends told them the couple mentioned a man creeping them out near their campsite.
Saturday that they met up with, they said they were going to go move. They were going to pack up and move their campsite. That it was like he was still creeping them out.
The family is hoping someone can help them find answers.
What is very uncomforting is that there 100% is a murderer on the loose.
A murderer who took 2 lives away, but the family says will never put out the light, the love of Kylen and Crystal.
We're going to let their love light shine, that they had the most beautiful love, and that light is not stopping.
Okay, folks, Grand County Sheriff's Office, they're working hard on this one, trust me. 435-259-8115, 435-259-8115. If you have any information, maybe you're traveling through the area, saw something, make the call. Just make the call. Let's go through some of this information now. The Grand County Sheriff's Office just released some information. I said there was an intersection between this case and Bryan Laundrie, because Bryan Laundrie, Gabby Petito were in Moab, Utah, as we saw, where all of this took place, right around the time of this double murder. So let me put on the screen what the Grand County Sheriff's Office has said. In the course of this investigation, there's been considerable conjecture that Gabby Petito and Bryan Laundrie were somehow involved in the double homicide. I think it was more Bryan Laundrie. Upon investigation, the FBI and Florida investigators have determined, based on electronic transmission evidence, that neither Petito nor Laundrie were involved in this case. So they've gone through the evidence and they have figured out and determined that Gabby and Bryan, not there, not involved. So we can take that, I believe, off of the realm of possibilities. Here was really one of the big takeaways from the sheriff's release, is that they've narrowed the victim's date of death. Because remember, Kylen and Crystal were living the van life, very different kind of life. You know, they were living at campsites. They were working full time. They did everything else. They just didn't own a home, or they didn't rent a home. They camped out. But they've narrowed the victim's date of death to August 14th, 2021. So that's an important date if you are in or around Moab, Utah. August 14th, 2021. You have any footage, you recorded anything, please take a close look at it. Now, another huge takeaway. from the Grand County Sheriff's Office. The GCSO's investigation is active and ongoing. GCSO has persons of interest, but has not yet identified a suspect. Okay? Persons of interest, but no suspect yet. GCSO continues to examine and analyze evidence by utilizing third-party and FBI crime labs. All right, still with us, Private Investigator Rob Joseph and retired FBI Special Agent Senior Lecturer at the University of New Haven, Kenneth Gray. Rob, this is your neck of the woods out in Utah. They were living the van life like Gabby and Brian, but they weren't traveling around. They were living the van life in one area, working full time. Your thoughts, though, about these words, persons of interest. We have persons of interest, but we don't have a suspect yet. What does that tell you about where they are in this investigation?
Yeah, so clearly, this happened in a campsite, and the law enforcement should be able to identify people in and around that area that could be persons of interest. So either it's just one of those random murders, senseless murders of opportunity, or there might be some connection to either of those women with somebody that had a grudge or a point to make or some type of reason to commit this crime. So I think the law enforcement have probably identified people in and near that area at that particular time, and also looking at other friends or connections with the two women involved.
Kenneth Gray, let me ask you, you've got persons of interest, so what do you do? All right, say you've got 3 persons of interest. Are you keeping surveillance on them? We all watch movies, right? And we're all reared on these cop shows and movies. You've got persons of interest. Are we following? Are we keeping an eye on them? Are we digging up information? Are we talking to their friends? What are you doing?
So there are a number of different investigative tracks you could be taking here. You could be doing surveillance, but surveillance is very manpower intensive. There's also electronic data, so you may be getting cell site information as to what cell phones were in an area at a specific time. You may be gathering up forensic evidence. The bodies were inside a stream, so a lot of that evidence could have been washed away, but nonetheless, there may have been other evidence. There may be touch DNA that may be able to be taken by using vacuum systems. There's interviews that are going on, interviews of people in the area. They may be being re-interviewed to try to pin them down to details. The 2 women were last seen at Woody's Tavern, so there may be a lot of interviews going on with people that were at Woody's Tavern also at that time. The intersection with Gabby Petito and Brian Laundrie was discounted because of cell phone information. The cell phones show an electronic trail of where a person was, and they weren't intersected at the time that the deaths occurred.
Rob, I'm looking at this case and I'm wondering, is it easier or more difficult when you're investigating a case here where it's happening kind of in the middle of nowhere, right? At a campsite, there's no one around, versus something that takes place in a more urban setting, in a city, in a big town versus here in the middle of nowhere? Which one has more challenges associated with trying to figure out who was responsible?
Yeah, I think the last scenario of being out in the middle of nowhere, and not being able to really determine who's actually out there and how long they've been there, especially like people traveling through the area, a motorist, a trucker. Who knows? It seems to me to be the more difficult scenario because you really have so many unknowns. But as law enforcement are saying, they do have persons of interest that they are looking at, and so I'm hopeful that they'll work those leads, those individuals, to try to get more information. they were at a tavern, they've been out and about. Obviously, they were known in the neighborhood, in the area that they were camping. So somebody must have seen something that has, helped law enforcement narrow down some of the potential suspects.
Rob Joseph, Kenneth Gray are going to stay with us. When we come back, we're going to be joined by Jason Jensen. He's a regular on our show, but he's a private investigator as well and is working this case. We're going to have more from the Grand County Sheriff's investigation, what they've released, and more information from Jason Jensen. Don't go anywhere. That's the wedding picture. Newlyweds, Kylen Schulte, Crystal Turner. Two folks who were living their own van life, working full time. They had jobs. They just lived out of their van in campsites and were both the victims of a horrific double murder out in Utah. Beautiful, beautiful land out there, sleeping under the stars, but someone responsible for killing them. Well, the Grand County Sheriff's Office has released some information, some more information I want to share with you. GCSO searched the irrigation ditch both before and after draining the ditch by shutting off the water via control valve. Evidence collected from the scene included the victim's tent, personal belongings inside and outside of the tent and their vehicle, blood, shell casings, bullet fragments, and video evidence from nearby properties. Also, the medical examiner's findings. Both victims had been shot multiple times. The shell casings and bullet fragments found at the scene were consistent with evidence obtained from the bodies of both victims. There was no sign of forcible sexual assault on either victim. Again, some of the information being released by the Grand County Sheriff as they continue to investigate this. Still with me, Private Investigator Rob Joseph and retired FBI Special Agent, Senior Lecturer at the University of New Haven, Kenneth Gray. And joining us now is the private investigator in this case. You recognize him. He's with us often, Jason Jensen. Jason, let me begin with you. The information released from the Grand County Sheriff's Office, I'm sure you were probably privy to a lot of this, but what should we be taking away from it? The fact that they have persons of interest, what does it tell you about where they are in their investigation while you're doing your own investigation?
Sure. Oftentimes we get the same leads and tips that law enforcement gets. So I would imagine that their person of interest are the same as our persons of interest. So that doesn't surprise me. And much of the detail that was released from the Grand County Sheriff's Office didn't surprise me either. I knew much about the description that they released, and it's kind of a relief because one of the things is it eliminated Brian Laundrie as one of the suspects. You'd be surprised at the mountain of different emails and leads I get referring to Brian Laundrie. So it's a nice break that we can focus on other people other than that individual.
Absolutely. Now, when you say persons of interest, in generally describing the folks that you've come across, are these people traveling through the area? Are these locals? Are these people that are living in town and are still wandering around the Moab area?
Well, we've gotten both kinds of persons of interest, quite honestly, because what's unique about Moab is, we're talking a community of only 3,000 people. The amount of visitors dwarfs what actually lives there. So we're talking, nearly 1 million visitors every year. So it's entirely possible that the person of interest was just traveling through, that was just camping there. That's really what we have been focused on this whole time, is this individual that Kylen and Crystal described as a creepy dude that camped too close to them and had sneaked through their camp the night before this murder. So we have little reason to believe it's somebody other than this creepy dude. So that's why we've been really pushing for the public. If you have any drone video, if you have any dash cam footage or and we even looked at satellite imagery to see if we can identify a type of vehicle or a color so that we can help law enforcement narrow down who this person of interest could be.
Now, the sheriff said August 14th is the date they believe of the murder, but you're telling me that this person of interest, this creepy dude, was there the day before. So we're looking for people that were there the 13th or 14th, and perhaps even before, who may have some footage.
Exactly.
If they're in the area.
We actually believe that the time that he was there was ranging from August 10th through the 14th. So anyone that was in that area during that week, if they have any kind of video, they should share with us.
All right, Kenneth Gray, well, I only have like 20 seconds here. Shell casings, bullet fragments. How helpful could that be here?
So shell casings and bullet fragments are like fingerprints of people. It's the fingerprints of a gun. So if that gun has been used in other crimes, you may be able to tie it to that gun to that other crime and maybe identify a person that way. Additionally, if you have an area where the creepy dude was at before, you may be able to pull his DNA off of rocks and stuff in that area. So you might be able to identify him that way also, especially if he has a criminal record.
All right, big thank you, Rob Joseph, Kenneth Gray, Jason Jensen. Appreciate your time, your insight, your expertise. We'll see you again. Still